Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to Black Belt Jones Adventures in Manhood, the Black Belt Encounter podcast. And today I have a pretty cool episode. Awesome guest. He is the creator and founder of one of the biggest upcoming lifestyle brands when it comes to the martial arts world. Matt Wahlstrom of Epic Roll Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. What's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, buddy? I am so good, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for being here, man. So, for the people that don't know you or haven't met you and are going to get to know you through this platform, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your brand and what you got going on.
Sure, man. So I'll give you like the 411. So I was born in Southern California, grew up like 30 minutes from Malibu Beach. So I'm like a California boy, and had a severe culture shock right before high school, moving to Virginia, where I went from like the ocean to cows being in people's yard, which was a total trip for me, and took some adjusting. But as I was growing up, man, I've always been sort of an artistic person. That was always like my thing. I was never paying attention to class. I was drawing. I was, illustrating things in my head and just being creative. And so I played music my whole life. And so I was always sort of drawn to that side of the world, which was convenient because as I got older, that's kind of was the inception of Epic Roll was, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 16 years now. And about 3 years ago, I had this sort of, idea about Epic Roll. And actually, I found out about drop shipping. I don't know how familiar you are with drop shipping, but it allows you to white label items, put your brands on it, take certain items, sell it, but you're not having to hold inventory. Holding inventory for any kind of clothing brand is obviously like a huge problem as you progress and as you get more and more items. It becomes very difficult and expensive. So drop shipping allows you to sort of bypass that obstacle, and so in this instance allowed me to take this idea of Epic Roll as a brand and put it out there. And it's a great way to test a product, a brand, and an idea without going too far down the financial weeds. So I put it out there as I had like all the Toro and all the, Czech Republic shirts and all these different brands. And it just felt like there was still something missing. There was still like a need to fill a little void, because I kind of didn't like the corniness, I guess I would say, of some of these, where it was like a Starbucks knockoff brand. Like, no disrespect to any of the brands, but it just, I felt like there needed to be something that was a little bit more lifestyle driven, that you could wear, that wasn't so obvious or in your face, and maybe not so aggressive. So I came up with the concept, put it out there, and it seemed to be very well received. People kind of dug the brand, the logo. And initially it was just going to be kind of ranked gear, because, you're really at these belts for a long period of time for a lot of them. So I wanted to kind of create a brand that you could take and rep that brand, or that, that belt a little bit during those times, just as, to kind of appreciate where you've come in the sport. And so that was kind of the intention, and that spawned into a few other designs, and people started asking, well, do you make rash guards? And I was like, well, I guess maybe I should. Or, do you make gis? And all of this evolved from t-shirts to, now where we are today with sponsoring athletes and tournaments, and partnering and doing apparel lines for, like McDojo Life. And as I said, it's really evolved into a lot more than I initially anticipated it to. But it's been an amazing journey so far, with how far we've come. And it's allowed me to meet some just incredible people along the way, which is, a complete gift. I was telling one of my buddies the other day, I said, it's actually amazing how many people that I've connected with over the past couple of years on the basis of jiu-jitsu. It's been like, jiu-jitsu has really had such a huge impact in my life, that to have it, just be what it is as a martial art, and then be able to actually turn it into a business, and then be able to have a global, potentially global impact, and be able to connect with so many more people. It's amazing, because without that, there would inherently be no reason that, we would be talking, or I would have had connections with some of these other individuals. So it's kind of amazing, actually.
Yeah, man, true story, dude. That's awesome. So let's back it up a little bit. So you moved, like, go you said going into high school over to Virginia. So you started doing jujitsu post California, like you started in Virginia.
Yeah, yeah. I was 25. I had just gotten married. And we were just having our first baby. And so my wife was thrilled that I decided to start martial arts at that point. I did Taekwondo growing up, I feel like every other kid in the world.
At some point, we
it's
all did chumbi. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I think it was around the time 2005 where like the Ultimate Fighter and some of those things were out, and I knew nothing about jujitsu. I didn't have a wrestling background. I had not, and I Googled, jujitsu. I found a school that was nearby. And I, at the time, was doing like web design and graphics. And this website for this jujitsu school was like pretty well done. And in my head, I thought, well, if they put some effort into their website, like maybe it's a better quality place than some of these other guys that are.
That was a green light for you. They had a dope website.
That was the basis of it. It's like, oh, we're the same height. Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. It was just completely arbitrary. But I went and got my ass kicked. I tell some of the guys now, I was like, you guys don't understand what a different time it was then for jiu-jitsu, at least in my area. It wasn't, it was still very much kind of schools and organizations keeping to themselves, not maybe as much cross training, and very hardcore. Like if you came in and like you weren't man enough to just get your ass kicked all the time, like there's the door. It was no hugs and pats and positive affirmations of keep going and you'll get better. Not even an understanding of, no one sat down and said, Matt, by the way, you're going to spend the next 16 years doing this, or that however long, and you're going to beat the crap out of your body. And it's just, you're going to go through this and that, just, blindly kind of going in. And if you made it, you made it. And I got into it. I started training for about a year. And at that point I thought I wanted to fight mixed martial arts because I had never been in fights growing up. Really. I just, I was kind of like one of those run of the mill, get along with everybody type of guys. And I thought to myself that, I was curious, like, how would I perform against another trained individual? I think after a year of jiu-jitsu, I was at a point where I thought, well, my basis of knowledge of jiu-jitsu now should put me, a decent amount ahead of just an average untrained person. Like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu is a pretty, solid individual, just from a self-defense standpoint.
Absolutely. I always say for me anyways, the way I train and the way I teach guys too is like, the blue belt for me is like the self-defense belt. Like you should be able to hand yourself in any reasonable, self-defense scenario. You're not going to take on 5 guys at the same time, but a one-on-one scenario against an untrained guy, a blue belt should be able to handle his business. And that's why I don't know if you saw in Michigan, they were talking about having the police officers have to be at a blue belt level in order to be in law enforcement. And I think that's a phenomenal idea. I think they should do that.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
So not to cut you off, but so then you started pursuing that, and then so why jiu-jitsu though? Like, so MMA, obviously, like UFC was hot. We were seeing kickboxing, Muay Thai, everybody's getting what drew you specifically towards like jiu-jitsu of all the different arts?
Well, it started with that, like that cliche of Royce Gracie and UFC 1 and just seeing that. So like I was already a UFC fan, and seeing those components, because back then it was kind of like the boxer versus the wrestler versus the kickboxer, we still kind of had a little bit of those differentiating characteristics with fighters. And so that just appealed to me. It was, I guess, easy to understand how jiu-jitsu appeared to be the most practical form of self-defense. You'd hear stories of people going out and getting in a fight. One person hits the other guy, he gets knocked out, hits his head, his brain swells, he dies. That guy's now in prison for the rest of his life because of some stupid ass, drunk fight over some Coors Light and a girl. Like it's just, it just, I didn't, have any interest in that. I was just had my first son. Like I'm not trying to be a hero. I just thought that self-defense, to me is a non-negotiable life skill. It doesn't have to be jujitsu. People can do whatever they want. But I think as a life skill, it's a non-negotiable, right? If you can't defend yourself to some standard regard, you're always have the potential for being a victim. I mean, most people aren't walking around dark alleys and putting themselves in potentially dangerous situations, but it's not a problem until it's a problem. And for me, as a man of my house, I wanted to make sure that I could protect my family. And from the research and everything that and what I saw about jiu-jitsu, it seemed like you had the best chance of taking maybe a smaller person and defending yourself against maybe a larger person or somebody that's, armed or whatever. So that sort of I guess made me make the decision for jiu-jitsu. And then when you actually go in and you're doing this stuff, when you get just an ounce of perspective of how dominating and controlling you can be when you have when you understand jiu-jitsu. I mean, what you can do with your body and the way that you can control somebody else's body, it's like a superpower, in my opinion. It's a very it's an incredible thing to learn and to understand. And so I was very drawn to that as well. And the fact that it was not a 3 years and you have your black belt. Like I love the fact that this is like, no, you can't emulate this stuff, and you can't, people do fast track it. And there are people like prodigies that go through and get their black belt sooner. But for the most part, it's a long road, and so I think it really tests your patience and I didn't know this at the time, but jiu-jitsu provides so much support from just when you look at the practical applications of what you endure and how that translates into your life, your mental toughness, your physical toughness, emotional, you go through all of these different things as a grappler over the years. And I think those things inherently teach you how to maybe deal with life's obstacles and hiccups along the way really well.
Oh, without a doubt, I always say that with the art of war, it crosses over into life, it crosses over into business. The discipline, the mental fortitude. You learn what you're made of. Like you said, everybody that goes in, with the exception of maybe a couple phenoms, but eventually they met like a real one. You know what I'm saying? They met a black belt later on and put it on their ass, right? But anytime when the first time you step on the mat, you're going to be humbled. And what I find is there's different kinds of people in this world, right? There are the kinds of people that they're going to take that ass whooping and they're going to be like, yeah, this stuff isn't for me. I don't want to do it. Either because I don't want to get hurt, right? Or you have the people that their ego can't handle it, taking that ass whooping. And then they're like, screw, he got lucky. He just hit me with some bullshit wrist lock or something. No, dude, this guy could have killed you if it was really on that level, And then you have the people like myself, and it sounds like you as well, that like you caught that ass whooping, and then it was like, I have to learn this. I need this ability in my life, and for self defense, I mean, kudos, man. I love that. I love that because that was what got me into martial arts as a little kid. Like I got jumped, and I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I'm not going to tell like a sob story right now, but I wanted to learn how to fight back. I didn't want to get my ass kicked every day. So self-defense for me is always what it's been about. And, going back to like feudal Japan and stuff, like that's what this shit was taught for. Like it wasn't for sport. This was hand-to-hand combat when you couldn't get to your sword and spear,
Yep.
So self-defense and self-preservation has always been the premise of this stuff. It just evolved into becoming fun family activity and sport. But the reality is, you train in some hardcore shit, when you do this stuff.
100%, man. It was a lot of fun, and I remember my first MMA match. In fact, I told my instructor I wanted to fight, and he said, train one more year of jiu-jitsu, and then you'll fight. And at the time, I was in this association I was in. They didn't have any, like maybe one or two other guys that were fighting in the whole school. It was like I was like one of the academy's like first students that fought MMA. And I had my first MMA fight, I think maybe the day after I got my blue belt. So it's kind of apropos. And I remember going in there, it was at the Dulles Sportsplex here in Dulles, Virginia, and I remember going in, and the guy right before my match, he didn't have a camp or any school he was with. It just seemed like one of those dudes that just entered the thing because he thought he would, you know, wanted to fight.
Independence, when you go to the AMI event, the independent fighter from Georgia. Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, this guy got taken out on a stretcher because he was hyperventilating. He was so like, it wasn't that he was hurt. He was exhausted. I mean, his whole body, he didn't even know what had hit him. So they have like oxygen on. So I'm watching this right before I'm about to go up there, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing again? Like, why am I doing this? And I remember getting in the ring, and I actually watched the video all the like, and I so ballsy, man. I did the jump over the rope, you know, like 2 hands on the top, whop right over. Like, so many opportunities to catch my fat toes on that and fall in and just make a hell of an entrance. But I cleared it, dude, like a pro. Hopped in there, and I remember when the bell rang, just walking, looking at my feet, kind of walking across the canvas and thinking like, what the hell am I doing? Because this was a venue filled with people, and one of us was going to get our ass kicked. Like, one of us was losing. And I was after that fight, I won by a TKO. It was referee stoppage. And I used jiu-jitsu in all of my fights. So I lost one fight to a state champion wrestler by points, like a decision, on the premise of takedowns. The rest of them I won, and jiu-jitsu was a huge factor in that. So I was pretty grateful that I did have a good basis, in that before I hopped in the ring. Yeah, so it was an experience for sure. I'm glad I did it. It was, fun to say you did it and actually go in there and fight another, martial artist. So check that box, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And you achieved that goal. Like you said, you didn't, you wanted to see what it was like to test yourself in human combat. And I think that's important, and I think, everybody, if you're a fan of like action movies and stuff like that, like, why are you into that stuff? Cause you visualize as yourself as the person that you get the adrenaline rush as Rambo's running through the jungle. You want to be Rambo, so we at some point, for the most part, I can't speak for every man, but most men and women want to test themselves and want to be that hero and be that savage, but there is a difference when you're testing yourself, like you said, against a martial artist. There's a big difference when you're fighting a high level, opponent versus just some drunken scrub, like you're saying, a guy with a beer or something like that. There's a difference, man. And when you put yourself in that position, and we're not talking about rolling and sparring, we're talking about like situations where you can get knocked out. There's stuff on the line, and you're going to see what you're made of, and honestly, win or lose, I always give props to anybody that's willing to step in there, because you face adversity. You went in there where most people won't even step in the gym to train, Did you ever read the book? And I'm sure we're kind of on the same page with some of this stuff. The A Fighter's Heart, the Sam Sheridan book.
Didn't. That must be like one of the ones I didn't. I'd have to put that on my list, bro.
You have to. It's a must read and it's basically that thing. It's like there's this guy that kind of did martial arts, and what he does is he finally like wakes up one day. This is true. This Sam Sheridan wrote this book, and it's his like autobiography of going on this journey that he went on. And so fast forward, he goes to Thailand, and he decides he wants to do a Thai fight. He's never been in a fight before in his life, and he decides to go to Thailand, and he wants to get in a Thai fight. And he does it, and he tells you about what his thoughts, and like anybody that's ever trained or has fought can like relate to that. You will connect so deeply, like as this goes, man. Cool. It's a great Book, A Fighter's Heart. But definitely check it out. Yeah. So, all right. So you trained for a while, and you're a brown belt, correct? You're with four. You got your final stripe finally on the brown belt.
Yeah, I've had it for 2 years, bro. I've been a brown belt for 6 years, actually. So nice, that's a whole nother fucking story, bro.
That's right. What's that one guy, the BJJ after 40 or some shit like that? That he's a brown belt for like 13 years. So
I think Guy Ritchie, I think Joe Rogan, I think there's a few of them that were probably for much different circumstances than me, but yeah. So I've been in it for a minute.
No, that's awesome, man. So at what point did you go from And I know you were saying like you were into the lifestyle brand and stuff, but when did you make the decision of like, hey, I'm a practitioner, I love this art, it's obviously a huge part of your life, um, to make the jump of like, you know what, I really like want to do this shit, like I want to make like a shirt, especially like because the market is very saturated. There's a lot of people trying to drop gear and stuff like that, and they come and go. Um, but what I tell you one thing for sure that you have on top of everybody is first off, the shit looks dope. Like all of the stuff that comes out is fire. All the logos and the designs are awesome, and the quality, the rash guards, the gi, everything is like it's honestly, and I'm not like fanboying out, but it's like it's some of the best shit I've ever worn. I've worn a lot of shit that like I paid a lot of money for, and it fucking rips after like one rolling session or something, you know? So the
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
control is definitely different. But anyway, so when did you make the transition of like I'm really gonna like put myself to this and like make a shirt? You know?
Dude, I had no idea what I was doing. Like there was no roadmap to creating a brand. I never thought I would be the creator of a like a clothing brand and have all of this. It was a complete like learning curve the entire way. And the thing that gave me the confidence to keep going was the feedback that I would get from people. Like I talked to enough, I guess, because I was also fortunate enough to have a fair amount of connections with maybe some influential people in the industry, that I was able to present, some of these designs too. And the feedback that I got from them was very positive. I just felt, like jujitsu, for example, if the stuff was garbage, like he wouldn't, mess with it. I mean, there's just certain things where I thought, well, here's the test. Like, let the people speak. If it's garbage, it's garbage. If it's not, it's not. Um, I have a lot of designs locked up inside this brain of mine, and I had a lot of creativity and things that I really wanted to get out that I was able to, and it was just well received. And I think the name, everything, it's a very middle ground, like easy, palatable, solid mom kid dad fighter sort of a brand. It's just, there's some that unfortunately pigeonhole themselves into a like maybe a sub niche, a little bit too much. It's like heavy aggressive, or it's got, you see these sort of consistencies in some of the brands where it's all the Japanese style everything, or it's all the like in your face this way. And that's just not the direction that I wanted to go. I just think that there's a lot more creative, or a lot more creative room there, for these type of shirts, and some of it can be very subtle and some of it can be witty, and but in all cases it was meant to avoid being corny. Like I didn't that there's plenty of that out there. Like you can go on Amazon, type in jujitsu shirt, 90% of the shit that you're going to see is like the cornball stuff that's
Which is fine. I mean, if you like that shit, you like that shit. But it's not for everybody. Like you're saying,
no,
it's not for
no.
everyone. There is and you're right. People do kind of put themselves in like a niche market. They're either their branding is too aggressive, and that's the soccer mom that wants to maybe try training is going to be turned off by that. So
Mhm.
you're right. The Epic Roll brand is kind of like it's somewhere in the middle where it's very accessible to people that like your hardcore fighters, and also the people who are like the casual, like, man, I like training, man, I like this stuff. It's got a good vibe to it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I as I was starting to go from transition from like t-shirts and hats, some of these dropship items, to rash guards and fight shorts and gis, again, dude, I didn't know the first thing about what makes a good rash guard or what makes a good fight shorts or whatever. You get the stuff and you test it and you see what you like, and you hope that what you like other people like. And as I got some of them out there, I was surprised because I would get messages from people that would literally go, "Hey, this is the best rash guard I've ever had." And in my head, I'm just like, there's no way I could have given that to you. Like that had to be from Hayabusa or Kings or like somebody. Like there's no chance that I gave you that, because
Right,
it's
right.
me. Who the hell am I? I'm nobody. And um and so I think I sort of, it was a mixture of like right time, right place, ton of hustle, and peppered in with some fairy dust and good luck, um and it worked out. And I have continued to try to stay really attuned to what people like. As an example, getting away from the Velcro shorts. That was like an evolution of making Velcro shorts and going, well, here's why I hate Velcro shorts, because they fuck up your rash guards and the threads and everything else. It's just, there was all these problems. And when
scratches your skin, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then eventually it just wears out. And so, transitioning to the elastic thing, it's just those, there's certain things that I still had people that were going, oh, you're not going to make Velcro anymore. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of like saving you from yourself, because I know that Velcro is going to get messed up. It's going to touch your rash guard. You're going to get pissed, and you're going to be pissed at me. It's not, you're not going to blame yourself. You're going to blame me. So I'm like avoiding that. And you don't figure these things out. It's just like growing pains of any company. You go through and you do that. I think one of the most rewarding parts of it is that the people that I've been able to connect with. I mean, I can't even tell you like how humbling it is to get messages from people, where they're saying like, this is my favorite jiu-jitsu gear. That trips me out so much, bro. I can't even tell you. Like, it's such a cool, thing to hear that I almost can't even believe it. And I go, wow, this is like amazing. So that's the real motivation to kind of keep going and keep producing this stuff, is because I genuinely feel like there's people out there that, that this is like what they want. This is, stuff that they depend on. This is like their training gear now. Like, I can't let them down. I have to keep, going and evolving and kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, you've set a standard that you have to maintain now, and it shows that like you're genuine with what you do. You obviously, it's a passion project for you. It's not just it's not like a cash grab thing, because a lot of people, they're like, oh dude, there's money in this like jujitsu shit, bro. Yeah, let me start selling gis and hats and stuff. It's like, this is genuinely things that you wear, you like, you design, and it's good quality gear. And then being so long in the game and training, and some big names, and obviously what they wear and what they like too. This is like you said, that the newer guy coming in, he's like, oh man, you don't make Velcro. Yeah, bro, trust me, I've worn the Velcro shorts for the last like 8 years, and I know what they do, bro. They all suck in the end. They'll rip.
Yep.
So no, it shows your love is showing through your product. And I think that's what's that genuineness, and the fact that you are being real about this, and you are yourself are a practitioner, and that is being passed on even through the little handwritten notes to people when they buy stuff. And to anybody that, for those of you who don't know, when you buy something, like, he takes the time, he'll write you a note and hope you like the gear, something. It's nice, man, to have that personal touch on everything.
It's hard, man. This is, not my full-time job. This has become a full-time job, but real estate is my main gig. I'm getting ready to launch the one bottle. There's all these things, but to me, I've even tried to look. I had a buddy of mine. He's like, "Hey, man, you could pay like a couple $100 and get one of these handwriting machines, right? Well, it'll just handwrite your notes for you, but it looks real." But it's like, and I'm like, "No, man, I can't do it. Like, it's not. I just want to be that guy where I keep doing that until, like, I don't know, until I can just afford to just keep doing it, or something. I guess I cross a certain point where it's just not at all feasible, but I'll keep doing it as long as I can. And I've stayed up late doing it. When I did the Save Our Children project with Tom DeBlass, how many fucking notes I wrote to people, dude? So many. But I get posts like, and messages nonstop on Instagram of people that specifically go, "Hey, thank you so much for that handwritten note," because people don't do it anymore. It's like a personal touch that just you usually don't see. And I feel like it's such a special part of what I'm able to do right now, that like, I don't want to not take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? I really like writing it down, and I want to convey, more than anything, my gratitude. Like, and I don't have really too many ways that I can do it, that I think are maybe more impactful on just like a benign, customer, service sort of like level. So to me, writing the letter just allows me to just, personally, like, say, hey, this means a lot to me. Like, you could go to Amazon, you could go on tons of different sites, you could buy a ton of different gear, and you chose to buy mine, and that means the world to me.
Yeah, you connect on a deeper level with your consumer and your audience, and that's definitely lost in today's world. I mean, I don't know. Like, I was just out of the country in March, went to the Dominican Republic, and just the difference in like the level of service of people out there. People were genuinely happy to have a job and get even a quarter from you. You know, they want this and they want to serve you, and just such good people. And then I come back to the States here and like I can't even get the server to, you know, to bring refill my water for me. You know, it's so anything where you're going the extra mile and connecting, like it's weird. It's almost like it's taboo nowadays, which is fucking sad. Like I don't know where it was that like people started to lose their way, but the majority of the population just doesn't give a shit, and that's
No.
sad, you know. And we need to as human beings, and you know, maybe it's if the majority of the population did martial arts, it would be a little different, because you learn that humbleness and you learn that like that teamwork and, you know, being good. And then let's not get it twisted, there's some assholes on the mat too, you know. But for the
Yeah.
most part, like, you know, the vast majority, and they're bad, again, bad apples and everything, but the vast majority of people that are like long-term practitioners of martial arts are hard workers and good
Mm.
people, and have a work ethic. You know, it's that old like Bushido, like samurai code still being passed down, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think the jiu-jitsu community is an amazing community. I always think when I compartmentalize the coolness of our community, I always think of this you know, situation when I was out in LA and I was near the Grauman Theater with my friends and family. We were walking down, and I'm wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt because I wear nothing else, but jiu-jitsu shirts. And this guy across, like, you know,
But
walking.
you don't go Danaher and just wear rash guards all the time in public, right?
God, I bro, it. I mean, it pains me that the outfits, dude. I can't. I've said this so many times. Like, it is mind blowing to me what that man wears. But he's like a mad scientist, so it's like, what are
And
you
he's
gonna say?
comfortable. He doesn't give a fuck. He's comfortable.
No,
He
he's
don't
like,
care, bro.
and
He don't
then
care what everybody thinks.
and in a sick way, it's like he's always ready to do jujitsu because he always has a rash guard on. So like, I kind of like envy that a little bit, you know.
Gotta respect
Um,
it.
you got to respect it, but this guy's with like his group of friends, and they're walking towards us the other direction, and he has a jujitsu shirt on, and we get to this point where we're like within, you know, a close distance of each other. We make eye contact, completely unrehearsed, as we're passing, without even much of acknowledgement. We both just fist pump out of the air, out at the exact same time. Bop. We kept walking. No words were said. It was just that one moment where it was just like jiu-jitsu, bam, you know, like the brotherhood, like, and I was like, God damn it, this is so cool, man. This is such a cool, you know, like industry. I love it.
It's an amazing world, and it is. It's like it's. I mean, it's not a secret society, obviously, because there's, you know, well, it was at one point. At one point, it was kind of like I talked about this before with people that you know, before you've been doing it, you've been in the game for a while too. So, you know, there was a point where, especially me growing up, like doing traditional martial arts like karate and stuff, where like you got made fun of for doing karate and doing martial arts and stuff. You know, now it's
Yeah.
like, bro, you don't do MMA. You never been to, you know, you never been in a fight. You never trained boxing, nothing. You know, same thing with comic books. Again, I was talking about this. Is like, you know, you were a nerd, bro. Like you got wedgies for reading comic books. People got beaten up. Now it's like, you know, you ain't shit if you haven't seen all the Avengers movies, all 22 films. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing the mental shift that happens. But yeah, the community in martial arts is amazing. It's kind of like when you're a biker too. I don't know if you ever rode motorcycles, but like when you're riding a
Oh
bike,
yeah.
when you're on the road, and everybody does the point, you know, like you just know, you know, you connect. And it is
Absolutely,
though. It's
bro.
like it's this man. It's just so amazing. Like the lessons, again, the lessons you learn on the mat. And I'm sure you've taken them and you've applied them to your business ethic as well. Like same thing. Like you didn't know anything about this business. Just like when you first step on the jujitsu mat, you don't know shit about jujitsu. You just know that it looks cool and you think it's something that you want to participate in. And then you continue to evolve and grow, and you keep leveling up and ranking up. You know, and I think that's amazing, man. I think that's what you're doing with your brand. And I think it's going to continue to happen.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's you know, I mean, I'm a just it's like so cliche to say like a serial entrepreneur, but I just, you know, like with entrepreneurs, you know, they'll say that for millionaires, you know, they have an average of like 6 to maybe 8 different streams of income. This happened to become one of those, like, but through the basis of just passion and fun, and you know, I feel very grateful that I was able to start it like this and not have, I mean, I always have to explain it to people a little bit when they, at the tournament that we were at yesterday, I had a bunch of my shirts like up on the rack to show people like, oh, I want this one. I'm like, that's not for sale. Here's how you got to buy it because this is in 11 sizes and 13 colors. And so I can't hold inventory on it. So you have to go on our website to order it. So there's a little bit of explaining out, but when I, just explain why and how people sort of get it. So this would have been really hard to do without drop shipping being there, like it's just time and place. Like I feel like sometimes it's just the universe sets things up and at the right time and that divine intervention and because of these things that were available. I actually, when I started drop shipping, I did sort of start it to make money, but it wasn't with Epic Roll. I actually found out about drop shipping and I did all this research, like what should I, what should I sell? Like because there's all different products and different things that people will resell. And I had a laundry list of why women's exercise clothing is what I should be selling. And statistics
yoga pants all day, baby. Yoga pants all day.
100%. Like it was, I mean, I had all these stats and all this stuff and whatever. So I literally went through and designed this whole women's clothing thing and I launched it and it was just crickets. And I was like, this sucks. And I remember listening to a couple of YouTube videos, people talking about drop shipping. And one of the underlying themes and things that they sort of like takeaways they would give you is like, you really should be passionate about whatever it is you're selling, like whatever. And I'm like, how are these people passionate about that weird fish thing that's like, or the hangers that these people are selling and make millions of? They don't give a shit about that hanger. They're just making money off it.
The Snuggie. You think the person that did the Snuggie was like, they just knew that they were born for this?
Funny story about that, little sidebar. So the Snuggie is developed by All Star Products. They ended up making $60 million the first year of that. It was stolen from a guy who came out with something called the Slanket. And it was a guy who was in college and he went to this college. It was freezing cold wherever he was. And he was really cold. So he told his mom, he was always wearing in his sleeping bag. And he was telling his mom about this. So he cut holes in it and had his mom sew sleeves onto this sleeping bag. And that was his first prototype. So it was actually called the Slanket. And then All Star Products took it and made the Snuggie and did their marketing genius with it and made
it an obnoxious, nauseating amount of money from a stolen
fucking
idea.
Backwards robe, dude.
Oh. Dude, it's fucking nuts, dude. That is crazy.
Crazy. So man. I had this women's clothing thing. It was terrible. I didn't like it. And at the same time, like Epic Roll was actually going to be like online jiu-jitsu tutorials. I was telling my friend, Philip, I was like, hey, let's do some jiu-jitsu videos. And at the time, this was before all the online videos that they have now, like Atos and all these ones. Like now you have all these world champions that did. That would have been a really stupid thing for me to actually do.
Who the hell is this guy?
Like, wait, who are you?
So hold on. So it sounds like, so you had the name first. You had the name in place first.
Yeah. I came up with the name Epic Roll and Epic Roll BJJ and thought, well, maybe I bought the URL. I thought maybe I'll just do online jiu-jitsu stuff. And so it was kind of this quasi moment where I was like, wanted to take advantage of the drop shipping. I then got inspired to create my own jiu-jitsu clothes because I would go to tournaments and I'm like seeing these different things out there. And I'm like, this stuff kind of sucks. Like, I'm not digging it. Like, it's like, okay, and the quality, it was like Gildan shirts with like the tag, just like garbage. You know what I mean? The real boxy shirts that just don't fit. And so I went through and I found the type of shirt, that I liked. I found all these different things and sort of just pieced it together. And it really just organically evolved products from on demand to, now holding inventory. And I go from, doing that to like the order that I just put in for a resupply of my inventory of $14,000. You know what I mean? Like it's bananas the way that things have shifted. But
and it all started with one T-shirt. It was the you had one T-shirt design first.
Yeah,
one step at a time, man. Was it the journey of 1,000 miles? Starts with one step.
Yes,
one
sir.
t-shirt and look what it is now, man. That's fucking amazing. I love that. I love hearing stuff like that. And I love seeing good people come up and do things too, man. That's really dope, dude.
I think that over time, you know, I felt insecure, I think, in the beginning, going through and um trying to pretend that I felt like I was trying to pretend to be something that I wasn't, and trying to make I mean, it's very hard, like, to start even with Instagram and your social media presence and all this stuff. You really, you do this for a long time without anybody caring, seemingly. Like, you're posting for yourself, you're getting 10 likes, you're doing these things. It's just, I mean, there's 1,000 opportunities to quit and stop throughout the way. And I think it was sort of a combination of my own discipline and sort of drive, and the positive feedback from people that sort of helped me continue on. And I'm not um, unfamiliar with adversity. My bottle project, I've been working on this for 14 years, dude. This is like, all these things have taken time, but I'm of the mind that the greatest, accomplishments and um, levels of fulfillment that you get are from putting your efforts into things that aren't, just done like that. It takes time. That's like getting your black belt in jiu-jitsu. What a amazing thing. What an amazing accomplishment to get and give of yourself to that level, to, to accomplish that. Or, getting my patents, or just all these things. There's very long processes, but at the end of the day, they're some of the most fulfilling, and I think the ones that pay the biggest dividends.
Yeah, it's extremely rewarding because you did that and you worked for it, when most people, again, don't even walk through the door to start training. And most people don't. They may have an idea and like talk some shit when they're with their friends and drinking and stuff, but very few people take it to that next level. And you have to take it to that next level for anything to be produced, or somebody's going to come along and steal your snuggie. They're going to steal your idea and they're going to run with it,
Yeah, no doubt, man.
but yeah, and that it's the discipline and determination. And like we were saying earlier about the again, about the way most of the world is, about like touching on like what you said about like a lot of times you are doing this just for yourself. Like everything I do for myself. People don't like it, they don't like it. At least I'm being me and I'm being genuine, and I can live with that. But sometimes you'll get 10 likes and sometimes you'll get 1,000 views. It just depends. You never know. You will always, though, you will get more views than likes, because most people that are watching you, they don't want you to succeed. They don't want to, they're hating on you, bro. They're hating on you. Very few
Know about the
people,
haters.
it really is, man. You got to feed off that too. You have to feed off that energy as well as the compliments and the positive reinforcement, because you're going to get more of that. You're going to get the people that are hating on you and not wanting to see you do. I see it all the time, man. Every time I make a video, like, you think I don't see the shit in the insights? Like, I know I got like 500 views, but only 30 of y'all hit like. I mean, come on, bro. You took the time to watch my shit. Just hit that heart one time. But that's how people are, man. Unfortunately, and I don't know. Me, I don't understand it. I guess I was just raised differently, and again, maybe it comes from just having the background in martial arts. There's some martial arts haters too, though. But yeah, I genuinely want to see the world be a better place, and I want to see people doing good, and I just don't understand all the toxicity and stuff, man. But it is what it is.
It's a mindset for sure. And I don't understand either, man. When my friends are successful, like, I'm so stoked for them. Like, anything that I can do to help my friends get ahead, any connections that I have, my network, any of that stuff, I will always try to leverage for good people and for friends, and to help them be successful. So I don't understand it either when people become haters, but I think that it's a very personal problem that they have, because we live in the most opportunistic time of the world that there has ever been, hands down. You have guys that are making millions of dollars playing video games because they're consistent, because they work hard, they're passionate about what they're doing. And it's these organic ingredients that you need to be successful. And people are so opposed to them. And this victim mindset, you know, saying you don't know how to do this. I mean, if you don't have aspirations, if you don't have goals, and you're not that type of person, you're going to you can go through and coast through life or do whatever makes you happy. But for people that sit back and complain that they don't have this or they don't have that, it's like, I mean, you can learn almost anything on YouTube alone, and you don't even need YouTube Red. You could just get YouTube and watch the commercials. You know what I mean?
True.
And you can get good and get proficient and put effort into it. I mean, it pisses me off, dude. They don't, like, most people don't know about the Dewey Decimal System. You know what pain in the ass it was to write a book report in 1985? You know, like what that was like to,
sure.
we grew up without the internet, like without cell phones. But it's almost weird because I kind of appreciate being born and going through that time, because it gave me a little bit of perspective. And we're like at a point in the world where we now have these technologies and we can take advantage of them, and we can couple that with sort of maybe the hard work and grit, and sort of not everything being so spontaneous and given to you. You know, like we're in a very, like the world and the way information is shared and the way that it's
instant
consumed
gratification.
is instant gratification. And so that, I feel bad for people that sort of become victims of that system and aren't able to disconnect and take advantage of it. They like get eaten up by it instead of taking advantage of it. And so I look at it like, the tools and resources are out there. The roadmap is up to you. And if you understand that there's adversity and there's challenges and whatever, and you just go fuck it and you can just keep going, you'll get there. Like all these podcasts and books and things that I've read, it was the inspiration of all of these people's stories that helped me do that same thing and keep going. Because I realized very quickly that it wasn't about being a scholar. It wasn't about being the smartest person or anything. Like half of these people, it was just about the perseverance to keep going past like 20 no's, or just, continuing to just keep going. And so when you hear those stories, and these are some, extreme, like the most successful people in the world, that was, I just didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I just bought into that, to the system. I was like, okay, these are the daily activities that successful people do. These are the things that I'm being told by. So if I'm looking at an individual that's somewhere in life in a position where he wants to be, and I want to be in that same thing, and he tells me, hey, these are some of the key tools that I use to get to this level, great. I'm going to adopt those things and try to use them myself so that I can, progress and get there myself. So the information and the tools are there. But again, haters are just going to hate, I guess.
Sure. But the other key point there is, like, it's one thing, like you're absolutely right. We have, like, if you want to do something, you have these, we're not reinventing the wheel. You have proven models already that have blaze the trail of success. All you got to do is pick up some of those habits and follow some of that shit. But at the same time, you have to have work ethic. Like, you got to be willing to put in the work. It can't just be like, oh, well, you got to do this, this, and this. Yeah, but doing this, and this, it's fucking hard. Like, it's a lot of work, and you have to be willing to put in that work. And and that's what we have. We have people that instant gratification and a high level of laziness. Like, people don't want to work hard, man. Another thing, lessons on the mat, right? How many people have you, first off, again, the people that don't come through the door, right? The people that do come through the door, I'm not even talking about making it to blue belt. How many people stick with it? They come to a trial class or some shit, and like the actual like turnover rate of someone that comes over to train is very small. And to stick with it for years and years and years, or lifelong, it's a even smaller percentage that does that,
Yep. But that always kind of was one of the things that made jiu-jitsu special for me, is I was like, every time somebody didn't do it, didn't stick with it, I was like, okay, cool. It's like still the secret society. We're still, we still have like our little circle of people. Like, you fine. If you don't want in, that's cool. Like, you don't get it. They don't even understand how amazing it, it can be. I totally get why there was a discussion, one of the last podcasts I was on, we had this discussion about, is jiu-jitsu right for everybody? And there was people who were arguing, well, yes, it is. It's right for everybody. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's a very hands-on sport. Some people don't like, just face sweat pouring on them and being that close to individuals and whatever. And I chalk it up to saying, cool, you don't have to do jiu-jitsu. But again, I will say that self-defense, to me is a non-negotiable life skill. So you pick what it is you want to do, but also be, cognizant of the martial art that you are learning, the how easily deployable those skills are under, high duress situations, and then what the repercussions of that, like learn Krav Maga. Okay, pull somebody's eye out, and then you're in jail. Like, break their arm. I mean, but there are consequences for this. When I had an issue in Nashville. I used to live in Nashville for a little bit. We opened up a restaurant there, and I was out one night with my boss, and these two guys got into a fight across the street on Broadway. One guy punched the other guy. He fell back. And hit his head on the concrete, and it was terrible from across the way. I was like, oh, that looked bad, but not enough to get involved. We were just like, oh shit, that sucks. And like a minute or two later, the guy that got knocked down just kind of sat up. So his legs are just still kicked out in front of him. He didn't even know where he was. He was just kind of like looking around, dazed and confused. And the guy that punched him took a running start and did a field goal punt to this guy's head.
Jeez, man.
And his head hit the concrete so hard, bro, that across the street, it was probably like one of the worst things I've ever personally seen. His head hit the concrete and made a god awful noise. And I thought, fuck, this guy's dead. Like, it cracked his skull for sure. So I immediately ran over and I'm checking to see if this guy has a pulse. Meanwhile, nobody's doing anything, right? Like, people are just staring and just, off in their groups and getting their cell phones out. Nobody's doing anything. There happened to be a nurse by, so I got her over. We're trying to like check his head, just see if there's blood, see what's going on. And while this is going on, the guy that just did that is kind of off to my side, and he's looking like he's either going to attack this guy again or attack somebody else or run away. All three circumstances to me were unacceptable. So I was standing there and I said to my boss, I was like, here, hold my cell phone. And I just walked over to the guy, grabbed around his head, hip tossed him onto the ground, basically had him in like a reverse knee on belly, his arm behind his back, and I had my knee on his back, just kind of holding him down there. Meanwhile, he's yelling, I'm sorry, officer. I'm sorry, officer. He thought that I was a cop, I guess. But I held him there, didn't hurt him. We got a little scuff going down onto the street, but hey,
sure. But the damage could have been worse. We obviously could have used an extenuating level of force and caved the guy's face in, instead of just using control tactics.
Completely. So I just held him down. 2 minutes later, the whole cavalry, all the cops on the horses start tropping down, Broadway. And being, from like the DC area, I was like, I'm going to jail immediately. Like, they're going to, cause I got involved. So I'm going to go to jail. And I was like, this sucks, man. I was just trying to protect the situation a little bit. These cops came over. They had me hold the guy there until they arrested him and assessed the whole situation. And then each one of them got down and personally shook my hand and thanked me for controlling the situation, for not hurting the guy, for protecting like like making sure nobody else got hurt. They thanked me like individually, each one, because of that. That was one of the only times I've ever had to use jiu-jitsu like in a real life scenario. And maybe I could have handled it without it, but I'll tell you, I handled it like a professional because of jiu-jitsu. And in that circumstance, that was a very real life application of jiu-jitsu. So I think if people go a level farther and just try to think through this a little bit, I'm going to bet that 90% of the time you're going to land on jiu-jitsu anyway, as your, self-defense that you would end up picking. If self-defense as a life skill to you is important, which unfortunately it's just not on the radar for a lot of people,
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre that again, I've done this since I was a little kid, so I just don't understand it. I have no understanding of it because it's always been in my life. So to not want to know how to defend yourself or how to throw a proper punch or grab somebody, and subdue them, I never get it too. But yeah, so we talked about it a little bit off camera. I was at my first introduction. I was like the anti-jiu-jitsu guy, and then now I love it. I love the submission game, and it's a part. I'm a firm believer in being well-rounded. I think jiu-jitsu, in the end, I'm gonna probably say some things people won't believe are gonna come out of my mouth, but I believe, especially being a karate guy, jiu-jitsu in the end is the checkmate. It's the ace in the hole. Because the reality is that size doesn't matter when it comes to submissions, specifically if we're talking about chokes and like, heel hooks and stuff like that. There is a power difference in exchange that can happen when you're going for like a Kimura or arm bar. A 110-pound female is going to have a real time trying to crank my arm, against a more trained and more athletic individual, but that 110-pound female is definitely going to have a hell of a time against, a 190-pound male just boxing, throwing hands back and forth with each other. Because when you're striking, it is a complete exchange of power. It is a power battle going back and forth, whether we're the same size or not. It's going to be who connects the hardest and connects the best. Where when it comes to the submission game, you can come in and you can grab somebody and, essentially, I had this talk not that long ago about Damian Maia had his like 7-fight win streak where he only took like 13 significant punches at the highest level, which is fucking insane, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer in being well-rounded. Like, yeah, jiu-jitsu is amazing, but first off, that jiu-jitsu practitioner needs to be able to get the fight to the floor. So he needs to have some wrestling ability and takedown ability as well. And all fights start standing, and even against your local, hood rat, you're gonna have to throw hands a little bit. So you need at least a basic understanding of boxing and knowledge. So there still needs to be a degree of well-roundedness. Now you can be a specialist, and I think that's where jiu-jitsu starts like being king shit, where you start taking over. But I'm a firm believer in being well-rounded. You have to have it, again, at least basic hands, a basic understanding of the stand-up game. But then I think the pure jiu-jitsu game has evolved so much that it's not just like, it's not that Hoist Gracie stuff anymore. It's not that one-dimensional. It's not jiu-jitsu versus boxing. It's not jiu-jitsu versus Muay Thai or sumo or whatever took place, Savat, those first UFCs and stuff. Now even the recreational practitioner understands that. I don't know. It depends, because like sometimes these schools, I mean, it depends on where you train. Like some of them are so competition heavy, and they ignore that the self-defense aspect of it. It's all like lapel guard and stuff like that. And I live in Florida, bro. Like we don't rock a lot of unless I talked about it before, unless you're at the country bar and they're wearing denim head to toe. There's not a lot of lapel and sleeve to grab, here in Florida, so you have to have a wrestling and, submission wrestling game, takedown game. So, but in the end, jiu-jitsu is, it's the ace in the hole. I firmly believe that. But I also still believe that you need to be a little more well-rounded. Don't think that jiu-jitsu is going to be the end all be all, because then you have these guys too that were whatever killing it, 400 wins on the jiu-jitsu scene. And then they cross over to MMA and they think jiu-jitsu is going to be it for them. And it's different when you're getting hit by, a boxer that knows how to throw a strike, man,
Yeah, I agree. You do have to be well-rounded. And I think when people start to then conceptualize what this means to have ground, have standing, you're like, Jesus, what, I got to be a fighter? Like, you're like, no, you don't. But again, we're in a very cushiony, type of environment. Like most people, right? If you're not in the inner city, if you're not in like some rough areas, like you're in the suburbs, like, you go to Walmart, you go to your job, like you're thinking to yourself, like, when am I really going to need to deploy all this?
They're
I mean,
naive.
and
You're naive.
They are. I mean, and you could even, add the aspect of just physical fitness into, the byproduct that you get out of doing these type of things, as a side benefit. But people just, they don't. And then when you get into jiu-jitsu, you made a really good point. I think it's very important to tell the students and to make it very clear what it is that you're training, because you have your older school Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but then you have your American Jiu-Jitsu, which is going to be a lot more of that light game. And then you have self-defense. And let's be honest, like there's 1,000 jiu-jitsu techniques that are going to be terrible for like a self-defense situation,
1,000%.
Completely. Yeah. So you have to, like, hey, if you're going to, pull guard, or you're going to be in this guard position on the ground, like here, from a self-defense standpoint, here's what to understand about the application of jiu-jitsu as it pertains to self-defense versus just sport, or competition. So for that's sure. Kind of a whole nother subset of information, I think, for people, which, I think most people get it, you know, they're not idiots, but you have to recognize that the way that you train, you know, that's that involuntary response to things. So if you train a certain thing all the time and you have no way of differentiating the fact that, like, if I did this in a street fight, I'm going to get hurt really badly, you know, that could be a problem as well.
Well, it's your muscle memory. We're talking about, like, we've spent thousands and thousands of hours working a certain technique or a certain way to move in a given situation, and that is your muscle memory. And you've been in a fight, I've been in a fight. When the adrenaline's pumping, you're going, like, you're not sitting there and thinking about the blueprint of when you have guard on somebody. If you have an overhook or an underhook, you're going to do this and that. You're just going, so you're going to default to muscle memory. You better be training good shit. Like, you better be training real world stuff. I personally, and again, like, I always train more specifically for what I call like a free fight situation, a complete fight situation. So even though, like, I'm going to be competing now in September in a pure jiu-jitsu situation, but I do that to make myself hone in on one section of my skill set so that it can improve and make me overall a better fighter, but you have to be able to differentiate, man, that, like you're saying, of this and this gym is, and it's weird because, like, the average person doesn't know, right? So if you're new to the jiu-jitsu game, like when you first signed up for that first jiu-jitsu class, you just went to that gym because it said jiu-jitsu and they had a nice website. You go there, and obviously you were fortunate because it's taken your journey down a good path, but a lot of people aren't as fortunate, and they sign up for these McDojos, slight pun intended, right? They sign up for these gyms, and they go to the Taekwondo school, and the guy's got, he's a 57th degree black belt, and he's got pictures of him in Korea, and it's all Photoshop, like Adobe shit, right? But he, and they think that, like, oh, this is the real shit, because they're naive. They don't know. They don't have enough time in the game to realize, wait a minute, this is bullshit, So you can dupe people, and you know what? Maybe that instructor doesn't even know that what he's teaching is bullshit. Maybe he believes that Kool-Aid as well. I don't know, but
there's definitely a difference in levels of black belts and jiu-jitsu and all these, like I travel around and go to a lot of places, and every time that I get frustrated with, like, how long I've been there and I'm still not a black belt, I go, man, but your jiu-jitsu skills are your jiu-jitsu skills, right? So whatever belt you are is whatever belt, but your skills are your skills. So when I go around, I realize more and more that, it's like the sport's growing, and so naturally more things are going to pop up, but the level of quality, like the information in jiu-jitsu is today not what it was in 2005 when I started, at all. The guys now are, like, I've told people starting out now that are, at our school under my instructor, Sean Stutman, who are learning from this incredible guy and this whole evolved jiu-jitsu. I'm like, you guys don't even understand how good you're going to be at, like, a purple belt level, coming up, learning this completely evolved jiu-jitsu, whereas we were like playing catch up to, like, learn all these new things that have come out and trying to stay, relevant, like, into the game. And I've also seen there is still a ton of schools that train almost no legs, like very little no-gi and very little legs. And you can do that and stay in your bubble. But the second that you go out and you start going against guys that know, like, the leg attacks, you're done. You're done.
You can be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and you're in your traditional jiu-jitsu, but you're a no belt. You're a white belt in legs, in the leg game, and you're fucked. What's the whole purpose of jiu-jitsu? The whole purpose of jiu-jitsu is, whatever, in a free fight situation or even in a situation just a grappling match, I'm trying to get a hold of you, pin you to the earth, and then funnel you into an area of the game where I feel I'm superior and have a chance at beating you, right? So all these leg lock guys, and they're doing it all the time. Watch the last, like, 5 years or so of competition footage, and these guys are just like, they may not even be overall great at jiu-jitsu, but they are masters of this one funneled part that no one seems to understand, and everybody's playing catch up to, and these guys are getting killed. They're taking legs home left and right.
They are. You at least have to learn the defense. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be your thing, but at least know the defense. I mean, we've had black belts that come in and that just like no leg game at all, that are just, you know what I mean, lost in that. And it's, you don't like know where to point the finger and blame of it. And some people are just,
It's the old
they're
mentality.
victim of
It's the antiquated mentality, and you can't be like that. You can't, and it's not the whole, don't ignore 50% of the body. Don't ignore just the realization that there is an aspect of what you do that will get you killed because you're not paying attention to it.
for sure.
It's insane, man. Yeah, but on the topic of self defense too, and I think we're on the same page about this stuff too. Like I believe in all forms of self defense. Like I train, I train firearms and stuff as well, because that's part of the game too. Like we're not living in feudal Japan where it's katanas and spears. Although sometimes I wish it was, but we got Glocks and Mossbergs. So yeah, that's an element of that's not trained as well. People that so double-edged sword. You have your people that think like jujitsu is enough, or MMA, whatever, martial arts in general is enough. You also need to train some. I believe you got to get some firearm work in as well. And then you have the flip side of the people that are just like, oh, I don't need any of that kung fu shit. I'll just shoot them. Well, first off, you can't think like that. We can't just go shooting everybody every time there's a little bit of beef or a quarrel. Okay, so that mindset
is not 1800.
Yeah. It's not, man. It's not. And at the same time, like, listen, bro, I love my firearms, but in the event you cannot get to your firearm, your gun jams, you're out of ammo, or something happens, you better have something else in that back pocket, bro. Like you better be able to fight a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. We, especially with the times that we're living in, between what's gone on with COVID and just the last couple of years, all the protesting and insanity, and then the things going on in Cuba. Like since the beginning of time, violence and issues have been upon the human race. Can you just imagine though, if everybody was just naive and never decided to fight back or learn how to fight back and defend themselves? Like we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist. We wouldn't.
No. I mean, you're always running the risk of being a victim. And, I guess to some people, it probably sounds super dramatic to run through all these case scenarios of why you would need to be proficient in martial arts or self-defense or firearms training or any of it. But, I mean, listen, we're still just things on this earth, and we never know when we're going to need to deploy these skills. And I guess just for me, I've said it, not to say again, but just I've set it as a non-negotiable life skill. There are just certain things that I think really help. You want to be here for a long time. Okay, well, great. Well, like do your part to ensure that, and part of that is being able to protect yourself. I mean, I want my kids, my two boys, I've one's 10 and one's 15, and I started training them when they were 5 years old. My 15-year-old son is a fucking killer, bro. Like already, awesome. Like he's going to get his blue belt at 16 years old. I got mine at 27. Like, I saw the way that jiu-jitsu gave him this confidence going through middle school. I was mortified for him going through middle school, right? Because middle school, everybody's assholes, man. The kids are just, I mean, it's like in my head.
It's worse. And it's worse now. It's worse than when you were in school or when I was in school. Like it's worse now, bro, because it's easier to be a bully and to be a dick because there's no, you don't have to own it. You don't have to own it. You can create a fake account online and terrorize somebody. It's this cowardice that exists. Where back in the day, it's like we had to talk shit face to face, dude. And we were going to resolve it one way or the other. Or you were.
And there wasn't 1,000 iPhones like videotaping this whole thing to blast you the next day on social media, and like, a whole different thing. It just. And he breezed through it, bro, like without problem, because that's awesome. Think about how not that jiu-jitsu makes you cocky, but like I walk around very confidently, day to day in just my own abilities. Like I'm not a huge guy. I'm not like some big intimidating dude. But I have confidence in like the skill set that I've spent almost the past, 16 years like training. And so, I feel like it's an amazing gift to give people. And then, obviously with Epic Roll and certain things that have come and spawned through this, I'm such a fanboy for jujitsu that passing it on to people. I mean, I have people that I've introduced to jujitsu to, and not to be dramatic, but it has changed their life like already. My brother-in-law finally started after like 7 years of being married to my sister, and like I was like, dude, come on, do it. No. Finally, one day I sent him a text and I was like, hey man, just so you know that unless you train jujitsu, you're going to have to go through the entire rest of your life realizing that at any point, if I wanted to, I could kill you. and he like wrote back. He's like, "What? Are you serious?" And I was like, "Well, no, but yeah, I am being serious." Like, and I just wanted to be dramatic and like give him like a little push. And he started. He just got his blue belt like a month or so ago.
That's awesome.
He fucking loves it, bro. It's like it's in his life. It's in his life. Yeah, man. I've seen these kids. Like I've seen kids come in, and I've got them into it, and they love it. I don't know. It's so fulfilling to pass on, because you just know that there's so, of course there's hardship that comes along with it, right? Like you have to train smart. You can really hurt yourself. There are consequences to to training certain ways and not being smart. But as a whole, jiu-jitsu gives you so much more than you give to it, like in a return sense of what it does for your life. So I nerd out on that idea of people getting into it and trying it and seeing how much, if nothing else, just a confidence level and the community of people, like if you weren't in a fraternity or a club or whatever, it's this global
sacred society. Yeah,
it is. And granted, you got like your Atos versus 10th Planet versus,
yeah.
like you have those little, like we got the Miyagi-Dos and the Cobra Kais out there, of course, but as a whole, it's a fucking beautiful community, man. And I feel, super blessed to be, to now have another thing that really gives me an opportunity to connect with so many more people than I would otherwise have an opportunity to connect with,
For sure, man. For sure. Speaking of connecting, you obviously, like, you work with like the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, Chewy, Tom DeBlass. I've seen you, make your posts with like, with Kenny Florian and, all these names. And you just recently visited the Renzo Gracie Academy as well, right? So
yeah.
How did all that come to be? Or I mean, I guess we're not going to get into everything right now. Maybe we'll save that for another time. But like, who was like the first, I guess, famous like jujitsu guy that you got to interact with, and then how did it come to be where you just started, like, it just kept going,
Yeah. There was a few very pivotal relationships that happened. I mean, I was connected with Kenny Florian from back in the day, way back in the day, because his cousin Salvatore and I used to have a school together. And so he came and did seminars and I got to train with him. And when he had Meraki out in Sunset in California, I went out and visited him, and he's an amazing guy, just a very cool human being. So that was great. When I started Epic Roll, I saw Chewy and I saw these posts, and I said to my wife, I was like, hey, I should reach out to him, because in my mind, I took a very like transparent approach when I would reach out to people on social media. And I just kind of said, hey, I'm Matt from Epic Roll. I created this brand. I really love and respect what you're doing. I would love to try to connect with you. And, can I send you some of my stuff to check out? Like, not paid, not, with no expectations. You don't have to like it. You don't have to post anything. You could love it and just not post anything. It doesn't even matter. I just, I'm just a guy that's just trying to get this out here and trying to see, how well received it is or whatever. And I think when you take that, you sort of disarm it, and you don't make people feel like this obligation or this hard sell to do anything really. And I said to my wife, I was like, I want to reach out to Chewy. And she's like, you're not going to get in touch with Chewy. Like he's got his own brand. He's doing his own thing. Like, he's not going to wear your crowd. Like, come on, knock it off. I was like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I recorded a professional video introducing myself, talked about who I am, put it all together, the care package of all this epic roll stuff. I even put that video on a little Chewbacca hard drive, right? And put it all in the package. And I was like, listen, I wrote this letter. I said all this stuff to him, like introducing him, like just saying what I'm saying to you, but in this video format, like addressed to him. So it was a lot more personal. And I thought to myself, listen, I know he's who he is. It's not like Don Johnson. What a fucking weird celebrity like example. The Rock or like whoever, you know. It's not like
bro.
It's
Sonny,
not
Sonny
like
Crockett, bro.
So,
Miami Vice, dog. Don Johnson's.
I mean, you see that shows my age. He's no Don Johnson. So I send this. I was like, if he gets this and totally blows it off, like he's an asshole. Then I guess like he, you know, like fine, whatever. I don't even care. Yeah, I was like, forget him. He wrote back, was super cool. You know, we start doing some stuff together, and he really liked it, and that was such an amazing partnership working with him. So it was funny because I told my wife, I was like, you know, we went from you saying he wouldn't work with me to me like being on his podcast. So I was like, who wins there? You know what I mean? Gotcha. You know, like a year or so ago, I got connected with Rob from McDojo Life. So I'm doing all of his apparel, and I got to go out to California and be in the McDojo Life documentary that's coming out later this year, which people are going to lose their fucking minds over. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Amazing.
His channel's pretty fire too, man. Like I love all that shit. Like all the
he's a great guy. Like he's such a genuinely good human being. The content's amazing. He's a true martial artist. He's a fucking whiz with nunchucks. If you didn't know, it's just kind of
I didn't know.
Random. Yeah, he's a badass dude. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu.
Okay,
but he's been doing martial arts forever. He's a wealth of knowledge. But I got to go out there and hang out with him. That was when I was like at Mike Beltran's house, you know, and met all these amazing people. And so he was phenomenal. He's been in and we're doing shit, I don't know if I'm allowed to announce that or not, but we're doing a project to go along with the documentary that will be coming out soon. So that's kind of exciting. And the Renzo Gracie thing was a guy named Harley Flanagan, really good friend of mine, I met same way, introducing myself on Instagram, like maybe 2.5 years ago. Saw he did jiu-jitsu. He was up in New York. I sent him a shirt or two. He ended up wearing it on tour because he's in a band called the Cro-Mags. And this was like a really famous, like kind of, you know, hardcore band coming in through the 60s and 70s through New York, and has this like real cult following. I never listened to the music. It's funny because like talking to him and his wife, you know, a lot of people that meet him are like, it's like on the celebrity side, and they're just fanboy, and they're just, you know, Harley. I was like, I don't even know who you are. I don't listen to your music. Like we became friends because we're actually like friends. Like right. We're not, it's not like a forced thing or somewhere like
jiu-jitsu again. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we are, so we went through, you know, we knew each other for a while, and then we were talking, and he's like, man, I really wanted to start like a Cro-Mags fight gear, you know, type of a thing. And the 35th year anniversary of his band's album, Age of Quarrel, which was their first album, which came out in 1986, was this year. So he's like, let's do like a, you know, gi, fight shorts, rash guard thing. So I designed tribute to it. So I designed this whole badass gi, rash guard, fight shorts. And actually tomorrow we're starting the pre-sale of that on the website. But I went up, he's a second degree black belt with Renzo. He's been there since like 92. So not only is he a super interesting cat, but he's also got like the coolest stories about being up. He was up there too when Danaher was like a blue belt, and coming up with, Matt Serra, and he's actually doing a documentary right now that's going along with the book that he wrote. And Harley's actually the guy that got Anthony Bourdain into jiu-jitsu.
No way.
So yeah. So they were super close. But he's the one who started him in that. So he's been like a really iconic person out of that gym. And it's been amazing actually, because when I was up there, you know, we started to promote this stuff, and then one day I opened up Instagram and it said Renzo Gracie's following you. I almost dropped my fucking phone. I was like, what?
Oh,
I texted him. I was like, bro, I was like, Renzo just like commented on a post. He's following me, and he's like, dude, you're in the family now. Like, of course. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Man, now you're one of the Sopranos.
Oh, dude, I was like, dude, did it. Done. Check that box.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. So we're doing a bunch of projects. We're going to do more, like another gi for just like Chromags. It's not going to be Age of Coral based. But yeah, these relationships, man, I take it as I sit back and I go, I'm just this dude in Warrenton, Virginia, this little, you know, residential area of like Northern Virginia. And just by being, I guess, passionate about what I'm doing. Obviously, I think that I had to have like some cool shit to like go along with it, right? It can't just be like I'm a nice guy and like I have garbage stuff. So, but being like a genuine person and just trying to build relationships organically, just like how we met, you know, all these, like it's fun. It's not, there's no high pressure. It's not like, you know, and if somebody,
it's very organic. It's very organic.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. So it just makes for such a better situation and such a more pleasant, you know, working relationship. And so through these, obviously these have been very pivotal relationships that have happened organically, and that I feel like I bring a lot to the table and they do too. And it just, you know, kind of works together. And that's, you know, allowed us to start like, you know, getting athletes. Like I'm working with Mason Fowler now. I'm designing all of his no gear stuff. My little guy, Icaro Moreno, shout out to him. He just fucking won the Pan Ams yesterday. Nice. This kid's like 7 years old. He's like a 7 or 8 time world champion. I mean,
yeah,
he's got abs.
The kid videos. Yeah, the dude's a monster.
My god, he makes me feel. I'm like, dude, I got to go do some push-ups or some shit, like, because this kid's out there flipping tires and running in the snow. And I mean, he's like that's the future of the sport right there. The kids.
It really is, man. Imagine in like 10, 15 years what the game is going to look like. You know, it's gonna be amazing. And I'm so glad just to be able to witness it and see and say I was there in the beginning where you used to get made fun of for doing this shit. You know.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, think about it, you know, all major forms of military or train, you know, it's like, again, it's a non-negotiable and it needs to be known. And not just the fighting aspect of it and the badassness of it, but the tenets and the things that you learn, the discipline, the integrity, the things you learn on the mat that you can take out into your life as well. And, you know, all that knowledge, all of it, the mental knowledge, the, you know, physical, mental and spiritual, needs to continue to be passed on, man. It can't get lost. And they need guys like, you know, you putting out dope gear that keeps the interest in it, you know, and it's just got to keep going, keep thriving.
Yeah, man, for sure. Absolutely. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, real quick, man, what else you got going on? I see the one bottle in the background there. Can you drop anything about that? You got any upcoming stuff?
Yeah, so if you go to the onebottlecompany.com, if anybody wants to go and check that out, you can sign up for the mailing list that will kind of keep everybody updated on the launch. Man, it's quite a process to bring a product to market, and you know, it's a very expensive process. There's a whole lot to it, but this has been something I've been working on for a very long time. After we launch the fitness bottle, we'll then launch the baby bottle version, which is actually, you know, the way it was invented. But essentially, it's a dual compartmentalized bottle. So it allows you to keep your water and say protein mix or green smoothie, whatever, separate, but in one bottle. And that little white ring that you see here is called like the click collar. So twist it, turn it, allows the water and stuff to mix all within the bottle.
Nice.
And so we are probably like maybe 2 or 3 months from launching it. It'll be, once it's on there, it'll be on Amazon. We'll have it on the website. We'll have it, you know, for sale everywhere. But yeah, this has been this has been a long process. You see those 2 patents up there. This has been, it's been a very expensive, long process, but you know, this is a product that I feel like has tremendous value, and I'm very excited to get it into people's hands, because a lot, right now they'll carry around containers, or they have to take it off and then pour it in, and there's kind of that's
The,
2 or
the
3 step
convenience
process
factor isn't there for sure.
for sure. So this is sort of meant to kind of you know fix that problem. So the IG page, yeah, the One Bottle Company, you can check it out there, and follow us on Epic World BJJ on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that other shit.
Yeah, absolutely. All the links to all your socials and websites and stuff will be down in the description and stuff below. We'll make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you. Any parting words of wisdom or anything else you want to say to the people?
No, I mean, thank you, for everybody that actually took the time to listen, and has been a part of this journey. Like I said, I'm extremely grateful. I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years. I think Epic Roll is going to, my goal is to have it be one of the top, household, lifestyle jiu-jitsu brands out there, and I'm really excited for more and more people to kind of find out about it, and help our community grow. So I appreciate everybody that's been a part of that, and thank you so much for having me on and give me an opportunity and a forum to kind of tell people my story, and get the information out there, man. I really appreciate you.
No, man, I appreciate you, man. You're a genuine guy, one of the nicest guys I've come across in the game of jujitsu and stuff like that. And that's what I try to have in my circle, and have people that I interact with. I don't have time for like bullshit and negativity and stuff. I want people that are movers and shakers and doing things, but also have a positive mindset, and want to do things, want to change the game. And I think you're bringing something different to the table with your brand. Again, the quality is high grade, man. It's good shit. Like I legitimately mean that. The styles are awesome. People will see when they click the links below, and again, it's genuine. I can see that it's it truly is a passion project for you, and I'm looking forward to trying out the One Bottle too, man. I'm definitely gonna cop up one of
Oh,
those as
I'm
soon as
gonna
they
hook you
drop.
up with that, brother. I'll send you a bunch of those.
All right, man. Sounds good, brother. All right, man. We'll be blessed. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, homie. Thanks so much, brother.